This is Paul for Redneck Sports. I believe that everybody should win in life, or at least attempt to. The first three maxims of General Robert Neyland's game maxims, I believe apply to everybody. The team that makes the fewest mistakes will win. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. If at first the game or the breaks go against you, don't let up. Put on more steam. Welcome to the channel. Now let's discuss some sports. Like, subscribe, comment. Show what your opinion is. Let me know if you like what you've seen. And I thank you for your support. Few people know the name Clifton Cates anymore. Clifton Bledsoe Cates was very well known is very well known in Marine Corps circles. He was a commandant of the Marine Corps. He is one of the original Devil Dogs. He fought at Belleau Wood and is one of those that gave us the nickname Teufelhunden, Devil Dog. He also played at the University of Tennessee. Very few people know about that. They also rarely know that it was his team that was first to beat Vanderbilt. They won the first conference title. It was the SIAA, the Southeastern Intercollegiate Athletic Association, which is the grandfather of the Southeastern Conference. But let's talk about him and how he saved the Marine Corps. Clifton Bledsoe Cates was born on August 31st, 1893 in Tiptonville, Tennessee, which is in Lake County. It's on the western part of the state, right next to Missouri. As a matter of fact, his parents sent him to the Missouri Military Academy. Keep Missouri in mind during this. He would end up going to the University of Tennessee to get a law degree. And his first year playing was the 1914 season. Tennessee went undefeated that season. He was listed as the second string right tackle. The previous picture, he was number 5, so along the top he was 5th player there. But he played left and right throughout the season. Now, that's a position that sees little coverage in the press, so it wasn't like I can get a lot of information on him. And this was a season that we beat Vanderbilt for the very first time. Yes, that used to be a major rivalry, and Vandy had, at the beginning, had us, unlike what it is today at University of Tennessee. It was also the first year we won a conference title. Like I said before, this was the SIAA. The SIAA was one of the first conferences. It would break up. Many of the teams would go to the Southern Conference, and then that would break up the bigger schools, and the bigger schools would end up making the Southeastern Conference. In 1915, the second and last year that he played, and a little bit less, he also ended up becoming a guard that year. So less than stellar year for the University of Tennessee, but he would end up graduating with a Bachelor of Law degree. And he passed the Tennessee bar from that. That was long before we had to go to law school and all that. Then all you needed was Bachelor of Law and then pass the exam to become a lawyer. The bar. Well, not long after that, after he graduated, they started calling everybody up that wanted to join, and he joined the Marine Corps Reserve and was brought into active service in 1917. He trained at Quantico and he'd become part of the 6th Marine Corps, the 6th Marine Regiment. The 6 Marines were sent over, and one of the first battles that they took place after all the training and everything, they were sent into Belleau Wood. Now, 5th and 6th regiments of Marines went in. They literally fought for 2 days. No showers, no hot food, literally wearing the same shoes for 2 weeks. They fought. U.S. Command sent in some Army. Marines came out, and they had 24 hours of rest. The Army took such a shellacking in that 24 hours that the Marines had to go back in for another 2 weeks. Because this was the first major battle that the Germans were fighting the U.S., they decided to try to make an example of who they were fighting. They didn't know they were fighting the Corps, and the Marine Corps held their own. A lot of death, but they blunted the best the Germans had. They blunted the assault. They stopped a major offensive with 2 regiments. Now, he ended up getting the Distinguished Service Cross during that time. Actually, he got 2 of them, and a Navy Cross, and a Silver Star. Actually, he got 2 Silver Stars during the war, during World War I. He would end up taking on several commands in between World War I and World War II. And in World War II, he would end up at the first major battle that the Marines had, which was Guadalcanal. Served under General Vandergrift, who would become the next Commandant of the Marine Corps. The Japanese threw their best at the Marines there, and for several months, with very little help, the Marines held. Now, mind you, the tactics of the Japanese were a little iffy, but the Marines held, and that became a major victory. Well, he won Navy Distinguished Service Cross, 2 of them, Legion of Merit, but it was after that, after the war, around the time of the Korean War. Now, he became Commandant at this time. The Marines would get sent in to the Korean conflict after the Army had gotten pushed back all the way from Seoul all the way to Pusan. Everything was just centered at Pusan. The Marines landed at Pusan and became what they said was a fire team. They were used to put out all the little blazes from all the constant attacks by the North Koreans. While they were doing this, they were allowing time. The Army was holding but barely, and the Marines were used just for that. Take on the little attacks here and there. Well, then MacArthur pulled them off and put them into the assault on Incheon. And this ended up getting South Korea back. But this was while Cates was Commandant. He wasn't in Korea. Instead, he was dealing with President Truman, a man who is from Missouri. So the two have that in common, and they're both individuals that were they spoke their minds. That's the best way to put it. They spoke their minds, and they didn't hold anything back. For some reason, Truman did not like the Marine Corps. He was also listening to General Curtis LeMay of the Air Force, who was saying that the next wars that we fought should be using nuclear weaponry. So, because of all the spending we had done in World War I, the budgets were getting cut, and Truman was listening to LeMay and was trying to focus as much as he could on delivering nuclear weapons primarily by Air Force bombers. Well, he decided he wanted to get rid of the Marine Corps. General Cates was having none of it. He was already having an issue. He was supposed to be on the Joint Chiefs of Staff as Commandant, but Truman did not want him on the Joint Chiefs of Staff because, like I said, he had a problem with the Marine Corps. Part of it stemmed, there was an Army-Marine Corps problem in World War I. MacArthur didn't like the Marines because of World War I. Truman probably had this same attitude. Well, Truman ended up fighting with Cates over this, ended up fighting with all the Marine Corps supporters, until it led to a letter. He was asked by a representative to state his opinion. And in that letter, he said, "For your information, the Marine Corps is the Navy's police force, and as long as I am president, that is what it will remain. They have a propaganda machine almost equal to Stalin's. When the Marine Corps goes into the Army, it works with and for the Army. And that is the way it should be. The Chief of Naval Operations is the Chief of Staff of the Navy, of which the Marines are a part. Because he said, and he was getting so mad about all of this, because he said that the Marine Corps had a propaganda machine like Stalin's, this pushed a lot of people on the side of the Marines. This saved the Marine Corps in the 1950s. And this all stemmed because a Tennessee football player who helped get us our first win against Vanderbilt and helped get us our first conference championship, not in a position that got notice, but in a position that was just a good, hard-working position, the Marine Corps was saved. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Clifton Cates, his time at the University of Tennessee, and how he helped save the Marine Corps. This has been Paul with Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now.